In the frozen forests of Finland, a lone marksman stood against an entire army. Over the course of just 100 days, he would claim more than 500 lives without ever using a telescopic sight. His enemies called him the White Death, and his story is just one chapter in the extraordinary history of World War II's most lethal snipers. These weren't just soldiers. They were ghosts on the battlefield, capable of changing the course of entire battles with a single, well-placed shot. During World War II, the sniper evolved from a specialized role into a psychological weapon that could paralyze entire units with fear. While tanks rolled across Europe and aircraft dominated the skies, these lone marksmen operated in the shadows, often working independently to eliminate high-value targets from distances that seemed impossible. The snipers we're discussing today weren't just accurate shooters. They were masters of camouflage, patience, and fieldcraft who operated under the most extreme conditions imaginable. Their confirmed kill counts represent verified eliminations, typically requiring witness confirmation or evidence. The true numbers were likely much higher, but military records only credited kills that could be substantiated. These men came from different nations, employed different tactics, and fought in vastly different conditions. But they all shared an uncommon level of skill and mental fortitude that made them legendary. Today we're examining the 5 deadliest snipers of World War II, exploring not just their numbers, but the incredible circumstances under which they operated. Let's begin. Simo Häyhä. The White Death. Finland. Confirmed kills, 505 plus. When the Soviet Union invaded Finland on November 30th, 1939, few expected the tiny Nordic nation to survive. The Soviets brought over 1 million troops. Finland had roughly 300,000 defenders. Among them was a 33-year-old farmer named Simo Häyhä, standing just 5 feet 3 inches tall, who would become the most effective sniper in military history. Operating during the Winter War, which lasted only 105 days, Häyhä averaged over 5 kills per day. He achieved this remarkable feat in temperatures that regularly dropped to -40 degrees Celsius, dressed entirely in white winter camouflage that made him virtually invisible against the snow. What made Häyhä truly extraordinary was his methodology. He refused to use a telescopic sight, relying instead on iron sights. This wasn't stubbornness. It was tactical genius. Scoped rifles sat higher, exposing more of the shooter's profile, and in the extreme cold, the glass could fog or glare in the sun, giving away his position. Häyhä employed tactics that seemed almost supernatural. He would place snow in his mouth to prevent his breath from creating visible vapor clouds. He'd compact the snow in front of his position to prevent his muzzle blast from kicking up powder that might reveal his location. He typically shot from distances under 400 meters, closer than many snipers operated, which required even greater concealment skills. The Soviets became so desperate to eliminate him that they sent counter-sniper teams specifically to hunt him down. They even tried artillery strikes on areas where they suspected he was operating. On March 6, 1940, just days before the war ended, Häyhä was finally struck by an explosive bullet to his jaw. The wound was devastating. It literally blew off half his face. Remarkably, he regained consciousness the day peace was declared, March 13, 1940, and survived to live until the age of 96. When asked after the war how he became such an effective sniper, Häyhä simply replied, "Practice." Lyudmila Pavlichenko, Soviet Union. Confirmed kills, 309. In June 1941, when Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa and invaded the Soviet Union, a 24-year-old history student named Lyudmila Pavlichenko made a decision that would make her the most successful female sniper in history. Unlike many nations, the Soviet Union actively recruited and trained women for combat roles, and Pavlichenko volunteered immediately, joining the Red Army's 25th Rifle Division. Her first kill came outside of Odessa, and she later admitted to feeling sick afterward. But as the war progressed and she witnessed the atrocities committed by German forces, any hesitation vanished. She became ruthlessly efficient. Pavlichenko fought at the siege of Odessa for 2.5 months, then at the defense of Sevastopol in Crimea. It was brutal, close-quarters urban warfare where snipers operated from bombed-out buildings and rubble. What distinguished Pavlichenko was her aggressive hunting style. She often volunteered for counter-sniper missions, personally eliminating 36 enemy snipers in duels that could last days. These weren't simple shootouts, they were psychological chess matches where both parties knew an expert was hunting them, and the slightest mistake would be fatal. She'd study her opponent's patterns, predict their movements, and wait with inhuman patience for the single moment when they'd expose themselves. In June 1942, Pavlichenko was wounded by mortar fire in Sevastopol. Given her propaganda value and her incredible record, Soviet leadership evacuated her from the front lines. She became the first Soviet citizen received by a US president meeting Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1942. She toured America and Canada, advocating for the opening of a second front in Europe. During one speech in Chicago, she famously challenged the audience. "Gentlemen, I am 25 years old and I have killed 309 fascist occupants by now. Don't you think, gentlemen, that you have been hiding behind my back for too long?" Matthias Hetzenauer, Austria, Germany. Confirmed kills, 345. Serving in the German Wehrmacht's 3rd Gebirgsjäger Division, Matthias Hetzenauer was deployed to the Eastern Front in 1943, where he would become one of the most effective snipers in German service. A mountain troop soldier from the Tyrolean Alps, Hetzenauer brought with him an intimate knowledge of mountain warfare and an understanding of difficult terrain that proved invaluable. His confirmed kill count of 345 was achieved in just 2 years of active combat, primarily between 1943 and 1945. Operating with a Karabiner 98K rifle, standard issue for German forces, Hetzenauer developed his skills in the most challenging theater of the war. The Eastern Front was vast, brutal, and unforgiving, with extreme weather ranging from scorching summers to deadly winters. What made Hetzenauer particularly effective was his ability to operate independently behind enemy lines for extended periods. He'd insert himself into Soviet-controlled territory, establish concealed positions, and methodically eliminate officers, NCOs, and other high-value targets. His longest confirmed kill was at approximately 1,100 meters, an extraordinary distance for World War II-era equipment and quite literally at the edge of his weapon's effective range. Hetzenauer survived the war and was captured by Soviet forces in 1945. He spent 5 years in Soviet prisoner of war camps before returning to Austria in 1950, where he lived quietly until his death in 2004. Josef Allerberger, Austria, Germany. Confirmed kills, 257. Another Austrian fighting for the Wehrmacht, Josef Allerberger served on the Eastern Front with distinction from 1942 onwards. His approach to sniping was methodical and calculated, treating each mission as a problem to be solved rather than a display of marksmanship. Allerberger operated primarily in the southern sector of the Eastern Front, including battles in the Caucasus and later defensive operations as German forces retreated westward. He became known for his ability to read terrain and predict enemy movements, often positioning himself along supply routes or near command posts where he could inflict maximum disruption. Unlike some snipers who worked alone, Allerberger often operated with a spotter, a partnership that proved highly effective. The spotter would help identify targets, calculate range, and watch for threats while Allerberger focused entirely on the shot. This teamwork approach allowed him to work more efficiently and safely. After the war, Allerberger returned to civilian life in Austria, working as a furniture maker. He rarely spoke about his wartime experiences, preferring to leave that chapter of his life behind. Vasily Zaitsev, Soviet Union. Confirmed kills, 225. Perhaps no World War II sniper is more famous than Vasily Zaitsev, immortalized in the 2001 film Enemy at the Gates. While Hollywood took liberties with his story, the real Zaitsev was no less remarkable. Born in the Ural Mountains in 1915, Zaitsev learned to shoot as a child, hunting deer and wolves with his grandfather. When the Battle of Stalingrad began in August 1942, Zaitsev was serving as a clerk in the Soviet Pacific Fleet. He volunteered for frontline duty and was sent to the 1047th Rifle Regiment. Between October and December 1942, during some of the most intense urban combat in military history, Zaitsev would make his name. The Battle of Stalingrad was hell on earth, close quarters fighting in a ruined city where life expectancy was measured in hours. In this environment, Zaitsev thrived. He developed tactics for urban sniper warfare that would later be codified into Soviet military doctrine. He established sniper positions in rubble, used factory ruins as vantage points, and created concealed firing positions that allowed for multiple angles of attack. Zaitsev's most famous encounter was supposedly with a German sniper named Major Erwin König, though historians debate whether König actually existed or was Soviet propaganda. Regardless, Zaitsev did engage in numerous counter-sniper duels throughout Stalingrad, eliminating enemy snipers who were terrorizing Soviet troops. Beyond his personal achievements, Zaitsev's greatest contribution may have been as an instructor. He established a sniper school in Stalingrad, training dozens of snipers who collectively accounted for over 1,000 kills. His students included Anatoly Chekhov, 256 kills, and several women snipers who would distinguish themselves in combat. In January 1943, Zaitsev was seriously wounded by a mortar round and temporarily blinded. After several surgeries by renowned ophthalmologist Vladimir Filatov, his sight was restored. He returned to combat and continued serving until the war's end. Zaitsev died in 1991 and was buried in Kiev. But in 2006, his remains were reburied at Mamayev Kurgan in Volgograd, formerly Stalingrad, overlooking the city where he became a legend. The snipers we've discussed today operated in conditions most of us can barely imagine: extreme cold, urban ruins, mountain warfare, and the constant knowledge that enemy marksmen were hunting them just as they hunted others. Their stories represent the extreme edge of human capability under pressure, where skill, patience, and mental fortitude made the difference between life and death. These weren't simple soldiers following orders. They were independent operators who often worked alone, making split-second decisions with strategic implications. A single well-placed shot could eliminate an enemy commander, disrupt an attack, or demoralize an entire unit. In their hands, the rifle became more than a weapon. It became an instrument of psychological warfare. While we've focused on the statistics today, it's important to remember that each number represents a human life ended, a family changed forever, and the brutal reality of war. These men and women were products of their time, fighting in a conflict that demanded everything from those who served. If you found these stories as fascinating as we did, please subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into military history. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think deserves recognition as the greatest sniper of World War II? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.